Keel started. "It wasn't the He stopped with a huff when Cale Ven elbowed him. Phina glanced at the captain to see if he wanted her to stop, but he waved her on. The Yolans assumed the enemy didn't have the scanning capability to pick up their cloaked ships. Perhaps it would be good practice to presume that an unknown enemy could have at least the same amount of technology available as you do. Cale Ven nodded and folded his arms behind his back as he moved closer to the hollow.
"Correct. That is not a bad strategy. Now that you have shared your assessment, what would you have done differently than the Yolans at the time?"
Phina straightened and faced them. "I would have sent a virus that targeted their cloaking and shields to bring them down. Then I would have told them that I had them dead to rights and they should surrender or I'd trigger systems to self-destruct." The two Yolans stared at her in surprise. Silence fell over the bridge as the other officers turned to listen.
"You can do that?"
Commander Keel squeaked, before clearing his throat and turning to Cale Ven.
"Can we do that?"
Cale Ven blinked away his surprise and gestured at Phina.
"Explain, please. I am not certain this is possible."
Phina nodded and was about to answer when she got an urge to look behind her. She turned to see Link and Will just inside the door. She nodded in greeting and adjusted her position to see all of them. "The virus is doable, yes. Either I or Adam, or perhaps one of the other digital entities would create it. It would need to be done ahead of time since there would be a lot of complicated coding to ensure it would make it through their firewalls and defenses. The method of delivery is trickier. I didn't check to see if it's possible, but I think at least Adam could do it. I'm not sure about back then, but he probably could now." Cale Ven nodded slowly.
"So this is a hypothetical tactic, not one that could have been used during this battle."
She shrugged. "You asked what I would do, not what tactics were available then." Link chuckled and thumped the Yolan on his back.
"You should expect Phina to make her own interpretations of your instructions and have a surprise or two up her sleeve by now, Cale Ven."
Phina sighed. The two males obviously knew each other. Lincoln Grimes, known to her as Link and to everyone else as his cover, Grayson Wells, liked to employ misdirection and be in plain sight as he went about his diplomatic spying business. There was value in that, but Phina preferred to operate in the background whenever possible. That difference in their personal tactics was the basis of most of their professional differences. Yet, both of them agreed that it proved good tactics to keep their cards close to the vest. Keel stared at Phina with all the wariness one would have for a live grenade.
"What tactics would you have used since you couldn't apply this virus?"
Cale Ven turned back and nodded.
"Yes, I am also interested to hear this."
Phina glanced at Will, but he was busy scanning the holo of the battle with interest. She tapped on her tablet and changed the view before she spoke. "I would have cloaked before the approach to flank the Empire's fleet. Once we were close enough to act before they could respond, I would have targeted the weapons platforms if I wanted prisoners or the engines if that didn't matter. Then the ships would either break down or explode. After the first pass, I project that at least a third of the ships would have crippled defenses or be dead in the water." She gestured at the Empire's fleet. Most of the ships were either scattered or unmoving on the holo, the rest surrounding their sister ships and the space station for defense. I would circle around to maintain momentum and keep the fleet guessing as to our position. After 3 passes at varying speeds, their forces would be significantly reduced. Then I would demand their surrender. If denied, I would take the rest of the ships out. She assessed her audience, who were expressing various states of shock and horror. The Puck destroyer would be the greatest defense in the Empire's fleet. It is effective, but only has so much maneuvering capability. It would be relatively simple to take it out at that point, considering the number of ships I would have left, leaving the space station alone. They would have no choice but to surrender. The phrase, "you could hear a pin drop," came to mind as she waited for their response. Cale Ven gave her a stare akin to eyeing a cranky bistock. Keel viewed the ships with visible distress as his mandibles moved but didn't make a sound. Link's smirk was faint, but visible. Will appeared to be warring between admiration and discomfort.
"I'm glad they didn't have someone with your logic in charge, Phina,"
her friend responded, his focus on the Empire's massacred fleet.
"If they had, I'm not sure any of us would be here. The Empire would have been destroyed before it began."
Keel gathered himself and shook his head.
"I'm happy those Yulin assholes are dead."